$5 billion for the border wall, clashing with the Senate, where the bill is not expected to pass. President Trump making it clear that he is unwilling to back down from his $5 billion demand.
If we don't stand strong for our national borders, then we cease to be a nation, and we betray our commitment to the loyal citizens of our great country. I look forward to signing a bill that fulfills our fundamental duty to the American people. It's all about America first. We have to put our country first. We have to put our people first. And we have to put safety first.
Joining me right now is California Congressman and member of House Armed Services Committee, John Garamendi. And Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Good to be with you, Maria.
So what's your take on all of this? I mean, look, the president wants the $5 billion for the border wall. You want border security, right?
Absolutely. The problem is that the $5 billion is for a wall. No one, including the administration, has been able to tell us where they want to spend that $5 billion on a wall. We're all for border security. We've offered $1.5 billion, 1.3 last year, 1.6 this year, for all kinds of border security, from fences, improving the fences, building new fences where necessary, drones, other kinds of devices to observe what's going on the border, improved border patrol agents, as well as the ports of entry. All of those things, we're for all of that. The president apparently is for a campaign promise. And so, come on, let's get into what we really need to build and what we need to do. And by the way, if you're really concerned about drugs coming into the country, some of that money ought to go to the U.S. Coast Guard, which actually has taken more than 10 times the amount of contraband drugs than have the Border Patrol agencies along the Mexican border. And so we need to be wise how we're spending the taxpayer money here. And the president apparently is much more interested in completing his campaign promise.
Yeah, meanwhile, the government shutdown hangs in the balance, right?
Exactly.
Walk us through what's taking place this weekend.
Well, I think this weekend is actually today. The House passed a bill that did have the president's $5.7 billion fence or wall program. That's going over to the Senate. It was rejected resoundingly by the Senate. The Senate put out, with 100% of the senators voting for a compromise that did not include the $5 billion for the wall, but did have money for border security, as I just described it. That came over to the House. The House Republicans rejected that, added an amendment to it, the $5.7 billion for the border wall. That's gone back to the Senate. Everyone expects the Senate to reject that and probably send back to the House the bill that they actually approved day before yesterday. That is the compromise, which, as I said, was 100% of the Senate was for that compromise. So here we are. The president's shutdown, the Trump shutdown, is likely to take place.
Mike. So, I was just going to say, so we do get the shutdown in the government. What happens to border wall spending? Then how do you see that playing out?
Stops. It stops. There'll be no money repairing fences. There'll be no money for the kind of improvements that all of us want. That money will not be spent. It'll simply stop. The essential government employees will continue to work. The Coast Guard, the Border Patrol agencies will continue to work. But the national parks will shut down. We'll see Department of Justice, non-essential employees at the Department of Justice will go home.
Congressman?
You go across it. It's just one thing after another.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Mike Murphy. So
Mike.
I get your point that you want the wall. Seems like everybody wants a wall to protect the country. We need some sort of something there to protect our border security. So for the American people, for the voters watching at home, am I saying this right, that you're offering $1.6 billion, the president wants $5 billion and change, so the difference on whether or not the country runs or whether or not we get stronger border security is $2 or $3 billion?
Yes, it's that. It's also where you're going to spend the taxpayers' money. How are you going to go about doing this? The $1.6 billion that was allocated, $1.3 billion that was allocated last year hasn't yet been spent. We could add $1.6 billion. Everybody's agreed to do that. Oh, excuse me, not everybody. Obviously, the president hasn't. And let's go forward. The president has yet to develop any kind of a plan about where he would build this $5 billion wall, which apparently is about 1/20th